She called the cops and screamed, "Arrest him right now. He tried to attack me." But I was standing on my own driveway, barefoot, staring at the metal spikes she had lined across my entrance. My truck was parked half inside, half outside the gate, its tires inches away from being shredded. She stood there with her arms crossed like she was the queen of the street. "This is HOA property," she barked, waving a folder of fake papers in my face. I said, "Ma'am, this is my land. I built this driveway with my own hands." She laughed and said, "Not anymore. You don't follow the rules. You don't live here." For a second, I wanted to snap, but instead I pulled out my phone and started recording. That's when she lunged forward and slapped it out of my hand. The phone hit the concrete, screen cracked, and she smirked like she won. But what she didn't know was that I had 3 hidden cameras already rolling, cameras she couldn't touch. The sirens came faster than I expected, 2 cruisers pulling up with lights flashing, and Karen ran toward them waving her arms like she had just saved the neighborhood. "She threatened me with a weapon," she shouted before I could even open my mouth. One of the officers glanced at my driveway, saw the spike strips, but still turned to me and said, "Sir, step away from the truck." My stomach dropped, because for a second, it looked like they actually believed her. Karen leaned in close to one of them and whispered something I couldn't hear, then pointed at me like I was some criminal. I raised my hands, kept calm, and said, "Officer, I suggest you check her documents first." Karen quickly shoved her folder into his chest, but the corner of one paper slipped out, and I recognized it instantly. It was the same fake HOA notice she had taped to my door last week. She realized I saw it, her face twitched, and she shouted louder, "He's trespassing! He doesn't even own this place!" The cop turned back toward me, waiting for an answer, and I could feel Karen's smirk burning into my skin. What she didn't know was that my deed was locked inside the glove box of the very truck she was trying to block. I slowly opened the truck door while the officers kept their eyes on me, Karen screaming in the background, "Don't let him touch anything! He's hiding drugs, I know it!" Her voice cracked, desperate, but I didn't flinch. I pulled out the black leather folder from the glove box and handed it straight to the nearest cop. "This is the deed. My name, my land, my driveway." He scanned the document, his eyebrows tightening as he flipped through the notarized pages. Karen snatched at it, but the officer pulled back. "Ma'am, this looks official." Before he could finish, Karen blurted, No, he forged that. Don't you see? He's lying." She was cornered, and she knew it, so she tried something wild. She pointed at my truck and yelled, "He's got guns in there! I saw him with one earlier!" My jaw clenched, because she wasn't just playing HOA queen anymore, she was trying to ruin my life. The officer gave me a sharp look and asked, "Sir, anything in the vehicle we need to know about?" I paused, then said calmly, "Yes, but it's not what you think." The officers stiffened, hands near their holsters, as I leaned back into the truck and carefully pulled out a locked case. Karen gasped, already spinning her story louder. "See? I told you! He's armed! He's dangerous!" The younger cop stepped forward, tense, but I placed the case gently on the hood and clicked it open. Inside wasn't some illegal weapon. It was my service badge, military ID, and the folded flag that had ridden home with me when I left Afghanistan. The older officer froze, then looked straight at me. "You served?" I nodded once. 10 years. Military police. Honorably discharged. For the first time, Karen went quiet, her mouth hanging open. I leaned closer and said, "If you're going to lie about me, at least do your homework." The cop shut the case, gave Karen a hard stare, and muttered, "Ma'am, this is starting to look very different." But instead of backing down, Karen exploded, screaming, "He's manipulating you! I called you here! I'm the HOA president! I'm in charge!" She didn't realize both squad car dash cams were recording every second, including the part where she admitted planting the spike strips. Karen's meltdown grew worse by the second. She stomped across my driveway, pointing at the spike strips like they were proof of her authority. "These are community safety measures," she yelled, her voice cracking. One officer crouched down, touched the metal, and shook his head. "These aren't safety measures, ma'am. These are tire shredders, illegal to install on private property." Her face drained of color.
but she still tried to twist it. No, I have authorization. She dug into her purse, pulling out a crumpled piece of paper with a HOA header clearly printed off the internet. The officer unfolded it slowly, then held it up against the light. The watermark was missing. The signature line was blank. He looked at her flatly. This isn't even real. Karen panicked and did the unthinkable. She lunged for the paper, snatching it out of the officer's hands, and in the process shoved him hard enough that he stumbled back. The moment froze, then the street filled with the sharp sound of the other officer's voice. "Ma'am, step back right now." But Karen didn't listen. She pointed at me again, spit flying from her lips. "If you don't arrest him, I'll make sure all of you lose your jobs." She had no idea that every neighbor had come outside, cameras up, recording everything. Her empire of fake power was crumbling in real time. One of the neighbors stepped forward, phone held high, breathing hard. She said, "Play the front gate cam." Someone hit play, and the whole block went quiet. There she was on the footage from 2 nights ago, crouching by my driveway at midnight, setting the spike strips one by one, looking around like she owned the sky. The younger officer rewound with his thumb, eyes widening. The older cop looked at Karen, then at the dash cam where she admitted planting them, then at the shove she'd just given his partner. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for impersonation and assault," he said, calm but cold. Karen screamed and tried to pull away, but the crowd was all cameras now, a dozen angles that proved everything. As they snapped the cuffs on, she spat, "You'll all pay for this." I stepped back, my hands in my pockets, feeling the flag in the case against my chest. I said nothing at first, then looked straight at her, and soft but steady, "You don't get to make people disappear from their own land."